Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. My name is Boyan Petreski. Today is March 29th, 2022. This is the Futures Now session. We'll be trading futures today. That's the disclaimers there for your use, your understanding, your protection. That this is for educational and instructional purposes only. And let's go ahead and get started with the session today. Now, we've had a rollover on a couple of contracts, so I just wanted to point that out this week. So let's go ahead and open up the climate and let's get going with our trading, see how we're doing. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat. If you're watching this recorded, then please feel free to send me an email. My email is right there, boyan@tradictive.com. And then, of course, the link that you could go to if you want to ask any questions, you may have any comments, may have anything that you want to discuss, please feel free to go to the following link, which is tradewithufos.com/Boyan. Okay, so for those of you that are kind of new to this, there's a couple things that we're looking for on this radar screen that we use on TradeStation. Now, other platforms may not have this, so this is more of a convenience factor rather than a requirement. What the radar screen is showing us is, it's giving us things to look at and essentially saying, okay, look at this or look at that, don't look at this, don't look at that. So let's go with why should we be looking for things. So as you see up here, it is the auto climate, right? Auto climate version 5 right now. The climate is shown using this column here. So it's telling us if it's a confirmed up or a down climate. Confirmed, blue means confirmed up, red means confirmed down. All right. Over here, the condition is the next thing we need to look at. We would prefer if something is flashing yellow, like it is here, near, right? However, next to the near word should say sensible. So near sensible means that it still makes sense to go long on this trade according to the count in the climate. And the count is right here, that current, right? You see that current? That's giving you the current 15-minute interval that this climate has been going in the same direction for. So as you see right now, Russell on the 15-minute time frame has been going up for 6 15-minute increments, right? So 6 15 minutes increments that the Russell has been going up for, and it typically goes up for 5.11, which when we round up, that is 6, right? There we go. So when we round it up, that is 6. So right now the Russell is at its end of the climate, which is right now why it's showing a hopeful long rather than the sensible long. Now, if we look at, for example, any one of these other ones, right? They all say sensible, sensible, sensible. Okay, these three say hopeful, so we're going to skip on these for now. All right. However, what's the catch, right? The catch is this is a 15-minute increment, 15-minute climate. So that means every 15 minutes this will change. Now, is it going to go blue into red into blue? It could if markets are moving sideways to that extent. However, typically we'll see some sort of a trend developing within these numbers within this climate. So we'll see, 5 or 6 up candles, and then maybe a couple unconfirmed, maybe even a couple of red ones, and then 5 or 6 or even 10 more of the blue ones. Now that's just I'm not saying that that's how it always is. I'm saying that sometimes we'll notice that. Sometimes we're gonna see a confirmed thick red dot, and then a confirmed blue dot and a confirmed red dot. That just means that the market is just going a little crazy. Okay, which is not unusual. Sometimes that's exactly what the market does. If you don't like trading that kind of sideways market, that's really up to you. If you do want to trade it, and then of course just follow what the instruments are telling you and trade accordingly. All right, so after all that explanation about just this one here, let's go ahead and see what we're going to open first. So right now, there's nothing that's near sensible long on these 15-minute time frames. So I'm going to open the one that's closest. So right now we have a sensible long on the ES and a sensible long on the YM and on the Enqueue. So I'll open all three just because the Enqueue tends to move a little faster. So let's open all three. So we're going to open the ES, the Enqueue, and the YM. All right. Now something that I want to point out to you is that we are currently trading on the June contract. So we got to make sure that we double check that. How do we double check it? Very simple. You can go to the following link here, and I'm going to actually post it in the chat as well. So that way you have it too. This is one easy way to check. You just go to barchart.com, most active, and that's it. Bar chart. Go to barchart.com, futures, and then you go to the most active, all futures. You can already see that the S&P 500 is right there. We're 4.6 million on the June contract. All right, and then of course crude is on the K on the May contract. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. YM M22 at NQM22 and at ESM. Okay, here we are. So our data has loaded. So far, so good, right? Let's see what we got going on. So what is it? I'm going to go ahead and analyze this on the ES. And then we can start looking for similar opportunities on the other instruments. So the first things first, we have the bottom screen here, and I'm just going to maximize this. So this is the bottom screen. This is the auto UFO, auto climate screen. What this shows us is a couple of things. Number one, it confirms what we were seeing on that radar screen, right? That we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up 15-minute increments out of typically 6. Okay, so this will become hopeful in the next few minutes. However, I'm still going to analyze it. Let's say we were, maybe around here somewhere, right? We were second one, the third one was going to pull up. Obviously, the ATR so far. A couple of things that we really care about over here in this bottom window is the following. We care about what does the auto climate say, where is the 9 exponential moving average, that's this gray line that you see here that's going through, also represented by the moving value here, which is the 9 EMA. So the 9 EMA is that one there, the gray line. Where is that on this, let's call it common higher time frame, 15 minutes? Where is that in comparison to current price? So we see that current price is at 46.07. We see that the moving average at 45.99. So it's about 8 points away. Okay, so that's all we care about in this exact chart. Okay, obviously moving average moves, right? So as it moves, price changes. Now, we take note of that value. We remember where it is, 45.99. And then we go to these upper charts here and we look for confluence. What kind of confluence? We're looking for our auto UFOs, our unfilled orders, to envelop the moving average. So the moving average is supposed to be enveloped by a UFO in these 3 charts. 2-minute, 25.84 share bar, 15.97 tick bar. Okay, so that is the strategy that we're utilizing. That is the how we look for opportunities. That is where we go in, where we get out, is going to be the next thing that I'm going to explain. Right now, I'm just waiting to see, because, okay, here we go. So we do have an update to the climate. The climate also updated the moving average. I'm just going to go take a quick peek here to make sure we're not missing. Okay, we're practically hopeful on everything except for the yes, the one we're currently analyzing. Um, 4601.27. Current price is at 4608. So if price were to kind of dive down a little bit, do we think that it's going to meet up with this UFO here, for example? Right? I believe that we can. Let me just double check something here. Interesting. I guess the share bar is not seeing any one of this movement as enough for a UFO. Rather, I would have thought that there might be something here, but there wasn't. Okay. And nonetheless, we do have a UFO here that will most likely work. 45.9975 to 45.9550. So what we do is the following: we take this up here at the top of it, which is, if you click on it, you will see that it's at 4675. Is that within this? You could say no, it's not. But remember, moving average moves. So if the price drops 7, 8 points, the moving average is most likely going to be here somewhere around the 45, 90, perhaps 6 area, right? 98, somewhere around there, 97, which is good for us, right? We're going to be already in a trade, and we would be expecting for the moving average to add some more orders in, as well as the auto UFO. So let's go ahead and place that trade. We said 4,675. 4,675. That's our entry point. Interestingly enough, we do have a couple other UFOs here. However, we're getting in on this one. So 45.95, our stop is going to be at 45.95.25, right below the UFO. And as we see, we actually capture another UFO down here as well. All right. Now, what do? You got to make sure we set our trade up properly. So 4,675 minus 45.95.25. That's 5.5 points. Now, if you're not okay with risking that, that's fine. You can always take it on the micros. So 5.5 points times 1250 is, that's not right. I'm sorry. 5.5 points times 50 is 275. That's fine. So we're risking 550 on this contract because we have two contracts going on. For a second there, I calculated the tick size times points instead of the points times the dollar value. Okay, so let's go ahead and so we said that we're risking 5.5 points. So 4,675 plus 5.5. We're looking at 4606.25. 4606.25. We're gonna take this, put it right there. That's our T1. Now our T2, I'm just gonna move this out of the way a little bit so I can see if we have a T2 that we can go to. And we do not. Price hasn't been here for a while, so we don't have any UFOs here. Let's go ahead and actually, we could load some more data. But for now, we're going to leave it alone. We're just going to cancel this order. And that's our setup. So how do we, where do we take our final profits? That's easier shown than done. But essentially speaking, let's say, price does something like this. Okay. And then depending on what price does, let's say it retests a little bit lower, tests higher, finds some more buyers there, and goes to our T1 right here. Okay. Let's say that were to happen. So that means we have T1 here. Now, let's say, price just kind of zooms on up and kind of goes past this high here. And then it creates a new UFO right where we had our T1, right? Let's just say that it creates a brand new UFO right there, which would be great. So what do we do here? As price is kind of reaching these highs up here, what we're going to do is we're going to take our stop and move it right below that UFO. Okay, so we're going to trail stop it utilizing the auto UFOs. Now, there's a bit more complicated method to follow, but again, this is the simplest version of it. If it comes to that, we'll discuss it then. But as of right now, that's the approach that we're going to follow. Now, the market's going to open in about 10 minutes. Everything's still kind of looking, hopeful, some sensible here, but the ATRs are quite far away. Even crude and gold, just 25 50-minute increments that's been going down for. The Russell's already a little bit in the negative here. The ES is still the one that's sensible, which is the one we're looking at. Enqueue is already hopeful, 1 ATR away. So essentially speaking, we apply the same methodology to the rest of them here. Look at Enqueue. It's looking very similar, right? Not a whole lot of difference there, because obviously these markets do tend to move together. Sometimes they'll over exaggerate each other's moves. However, they typically do move together most of the time. All right, now gold is flashing. Again, it's a hopeful short. If for some reason something reverses and it becomes a sensible long, then we could look at it for sure. But as of right now, there's really not much to look at. So let's go ahead and kind of be a little bit patient, and we'll go from there. Let's move this away here. Okay. The Dow is in a very similar position, as you see, 35,130, 35,092. That's within this UFO. Okay. Now, for this one, it's a little bit trickier. Let's go ahead and check it out just to be sure. The top of this UFO is 35,103. Let's say we were to put on our trade at 35,103, right? Our stop, we need to go below 81, which is 80. And as you see, that's within this UFO up here. So then we go to that one, we go to 70. Actually, it's even within this one here. So 61. So we already have to go to 60. Okay, so 60 is here. Okay, that's an acceptable spot to go to. Right now, as we see 35, this is where this UFO starts, 35,060. So even though this stop is not within it, it's still so close that you're not giving yourself a chance to have it work. So that means you would have to move that down to 35,033, and that looks like it's below everything. Now this one is already too far away, so that's fine. But this is what I'm referring to. Is we go to 35,103 minus 35,033. That's 70 points. All right, that's $350 a contract, so $700 overall risk for this trade, which is not the craziest of things. It's just that if you're not okay with that, you can certainly take it on the micros. Now, to fully kind of adjust this and show it properly, we should number one, we should not be taking this trade and the ES trade together, because they're in the same direction on a related market. So if we're right, we're gonna make a good amount of money, but if we're wrong, we're gonna lose quite a bit of money. So we don't want to be exposed to the same risk on both trades. So I'm trying to get at. So 35,173. See, this is what I don't like about this trade in particular. I'll show you right now. Let's enable chart trading so it's easier to drag this stuff around. 35,173. Okay, that's our T1. Remember, that's our safety target, right? And safety targets should be targets that get easily filled. Like, most of the time, I think 75 or 85% of the time, you need to have T1s filled, because that's just a safety target. That's where you take your money off the table, and the rest of the money is trying to make you money, right? That's kind of how you're looking at it. Now, for this particular scenario, because the Dow is on the seventh 15-minute increment out of typically six, this is a hopeful trade. That means we're really, really, really pushing our luck. Could this work? Absolutely. Are probabilities in our favor for this to work? Not as much if this was, on the second or maybe third out of six climate increments in total. So that's why I'm not liking this trade as much. I mean, I'm not really loving this trade either, I'll be honest with you. But you don't have to love a trade. You don't have to be in love with the trade. The trade just needs to meet the criteria of a plan. This one, as of right now, actually doesn't meet the criteria either. Yeah, because the increments changed. So we're on the even on the ES, we're on the seventh candle up out of typically six, right? Because 5.33, even though mathematically it's five, we always round up climates, so it's six. So that means that this is now a hopeful climate, which should be updated here. Okay, I think I probably just have some more data loaded here. Let me double check that. Usually, these need to be 500 bars back. That's interesting. Let me just see. I forget. I always have a hard time when it comes to these. How much data they look back at. I'll have to double check that, but I think it's edit study. I thought it was at least. Okay. How much data they load, I forget how it was to double check that, but yeah. There's a way to double check how much data these are looking back at. I just don't happen to remember that way. It's been so long since I've ever looked for that. But right now, let me just double check everything. Okay, so this is looking at 2 days back, and it shouldn't. It should be looking at 89. And this should be up 89. 89. Okay. And this one should be looking at 500 back. So this one is correct. So I'm going to stick with what this one is saying because it's 500 bars back. This one is saying it's the seventh out of typically six. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel my trade. So that's why you always have to double check things, because not everything, okay, looks like the markets are looking to be popping higher, which is okay. As I said, that's fine. If we were to wait for about half a minute now, we're going to see an update to these climates, and let's see if there's something else developing. All right, a few more seconds. Regular session has opened. No particular changes to any of these. So pushing lower across the board. Nothing out of the ordinary. A lot of volatility, that's expected, and the market's open. As you see, it's the 8th candle up out of typically 6. So not a whole lot to do other than just watch it, really, because we don't have anything here across the board. I mean, you look at these, it says sensible long, sensible long, sensible long, but they are, 1.7 ATRs away, 1.6 ATRs away, 2.3 ATRs away. So that means it's just not going to happen, to get it. Even this one, 2.7, 1.5. This one's not horrible, 1 ATR away. So let's go ahead and look at the Russell on the 240-minute climate and see what it will give us there, if anything. Because it is sensible. So let's go to the RTY 240-minute. Probably haven't opened this workspace in a while. Yep. Let's see. All right. At RTYM 22. Okay. Pending data. Popping higher. Okay. Well, looks like the train left the station. Right? Whew. Look at that down. Russell and Enqueue and the ES are kind of following along. Looks like some really positive news or something's going on in the markets. Let's take a look at the news for today. If we go to FX Street Economic Calendar, if we had anything post today, couple of housing price index is 1.6, so a little bit higher than expected. The S&P Case-Shiller home price indices is 19.1. The consensus was 18.4. Just looking at this here. 28 minutes, we have consumer confidence. Not really a whole bunch to look at here. I'm reading some of this news here, so it looks like Russia is beginning to withdraw some troops. Could that be what's currently moving things? Not quite. That was... Oh, it could be. Again, this is like, looking for a needle in the haystack. We shouldn't really care too much about it. We should look at it. If there's a major event, sure. Now, what can be considered major under today's, macroeconomic position? Yeah, it could be. If Russia's withdrawing troops from Ukraine, yeah, that could be considered a major thing. If, it's something like just a rumor, so to speak, then it's not really major, but it's something that we need to maybe keep our eyes on. Okay, so far we're gonna have heating gas near sensible long on the 240. Let's look at that. Heating gas HG. Did I skip it? There it is. Sorry about that. Actually, let's see. Heating gas might be on the K, but let's just double check. Where is heating gas on? Energies. Okay. Natural gas. Where's heating gas? HG. Nope, not what I'm looking for. Wait a minute. Oh my god, I'm so. It's copper. What the hell? I don't know why I just always confuse that like that. Just makes more sense for this to be um, heating S when it's actually copper, so it's on the K. All right, there we go. That's HGK22. So it is on the K? Yeah, it's on the K. All right, so got that right, just minus the actual instrument. All right, let's take a look here. So we are on the 6th out of 6. Oh boy. And that's the best to be at when you're looking at a long-term trade like this. Okay, and this is also not looking great given how close the UFO is, but that's fine. This UFO, I'm only gonna kind of remember this. So 4.750 would be our final target if we were to take this. 4.750. 47167 falls within this UFO here. That starts right here. It's 1775 or 9? 75, yep. 75. Okay. So 175 were to be the buy. The sell's gonna be way down there. Shit. That's also not an optimal trade. If we were to go down to 70.35, so 70.30 would be here, the stop. Okay, that's close enough, but it's hitting right on this, as you see. So 71.75 minus 70.30, looking at 145. 73.20 would be our T1. 73.20 T1. And what do we say this was? 475. Okay. Up there. Just want to double check that in case I accidentally move this. Let's go ahead and do a data reload. $475 it is. Yep. Okay. Price looks like it's a couple of ticks away from our entry. Again, this is at the end of this. However, this 4-hour, there we go, we're filled. This 4-hour, increment has, another 2.5 hours to go. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and screenshot this real quick, so we know. Now, as far as risk, as you see, we're risking 725. So 2022 03 29, and this is copper, not heating gas. HO is heating gas, or heating oil rather. HG. This is a 240-minute setup. There we are. Okay. So, like I said, not the greatest of trades here, but listen, sometimes it's these trades that, pay the bills, as they say. Risking 725 to make 1175 is the current setup right here. So, yeah. So, yeah. So, 5. And as I said, we're risking, trying to make 362 5 plus 812 5, 1175. If we calculate that, oh, I wasn't looking for a break even. Okay. Oh, one thing I did forget to do here is I'm going to mark this on a horizontal, on the vertical. So this is our candle of entry, right? And then I'm going to take 1, 2, 3 increments. Okay. In these 3 increments, we either need to hit our stop or our T1. So in this purple rectangle, that's the time stop rule. So that's the time stop rule that says, hey, listen, when all this stuff is working for you, it shouldn't make any sense that your T1 doesn't get filled. If it does not get filled, let's say essentially an hour from now, this doesn't work out to the point where it's taken our T1 or it hasn't stopped us out. As soon as the new candle prints here, as soon as the new one, so not this one here, but there would be a candle that's going to open right here, right? Let's just mark this in blue. So as soon as the blue candle that's going to be right here prints, we're going to go ahead and close this at market. Why do we do that? Well, we essentially designate a time limit for a trade to work. You know, because when you have all this stuff going for it, which is the moving average, the auto UFOs, the auto climate, and it's still taking forever just to get you a T1, then there's a good chance that either there's a market shift or things are just being very much sideways, and you're going to get a full stop out. Could it also run to your T2? Absolutely. But according to my backtesting that I've done, time stop does save you money. It also takes away some T2 profits, but more often than not, it saves you money. So it's a good approach to be taking. So definitely pay attention to it, backtest it for yourself. If you prefer not to use it and you want to say, hey, listen, I like my trades. My win-loss ratio is really good. I want to be part of all these trades that I'm taking. All right, so here's the indexes they've taken quite the turn, yet interestingly enough, not the Russell. So, I would almost want to short this if it prints a red UFO, just because the rest of them took a steep tumble, right? I mean, the ES went from 4620 to 4605. That's a 15-point move. That's not a small move, but of course, we don't have the setup here. As a matter of fact, on the Russell, this is the 240 that we have open. It still makes sense for this to go long for. So sometimes we have to be observers for long enough to be able to recognize opportunities in the future. Because if you think you're just going to jump in here and just know it all, believe me, you may have some luck in the beginning, but then the market will prove you wrong. And that's what's going to matter the most, is what do you do when you're proven wrong? All right, so 4603. 4603. So this UFO here that it actually touched would have been a good entry, but we can't take this entry. It's the 8th candle up out of typically 6. This is why it just kind of confuses you. But if you want to just watch them all, open them on a watching workspace, so that way you don't fall in the pitfalls of, man, I could have gone in. This one we can still watch. This one we have a trade open on, so we can leave open. But if you just want to watch them, you don't want to take any trades, you can simply open something like this, like the majors, large time frames that I have a workspace on. And this is my watching workspace. I'm not taking trades off of this. I'm just watching. We're gapping up on the .Ds. We're moving on up on the daily, and looks like we're hitting a red UFO right there on the daily too. Right? That's also important to understand that, hey, there's some stuff going on here. So maybe be on the lookout. So maybe don't go in on an overextended hopeful climate when we're hitting a daily sell UFO, and it looks like it's going to be an across the board type of thing. As you see, the YM, the Enqueue, and the ES are going to hit it at the same time. Though I do remember that I set up the Russell and the Russell on here as well. Yet it's not here. I must have not saved the workspace. So yeah, interesting stuff happening there. Of course, the .D giving you the indication that since yesterday's close, we're gapping up higher. Um, One of two things typically happens when we have a gap up. Either the gap tries to get closed before the close of the trading day, or it runs. Right now, I initially saw impulse move that this is going to gap and run, but right now, as you see, we're printing red on the day for the ES from the open, and somewhat of a move down on the NQ and the YM. Obviously, the Russell. Let's just go ahead and add it here too. RTY.D. Right? Look at that at RTY. So yeah, the Russell is moving on up. Let me just arrange all. Okay, I hated that it just does this like this, but what are you gonna do? I'll just put the ES back here. At ES.D. I'm gonna go at Enqueue at Enqueue.D at ym.d at rty.d. All right, now let's go ahead and save this workspace. Save. There we go. Just so we have it. Okay, so as you see, well, that's not what I had in mind here. Time frame should be daily, and time frame should be daily. I don't know where the 60s came from. Oh, I think it was because on my .Ds I had them on the 60-minute. That's what it was. Okay, I know why. Let's put that on the daily. Put that on the daily. And put that one on the daily as well. All right, so we're dailies across the board here, which is nice. Again, I'm just going to save that workspace because I keep forgetting to save it, I guess. All right, how's our trade doing? A whole lot of nothing. Looks like it came, it went up a little bit. It was at 47.28. So it was up to here. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ticks away. So not too far, not too close. Kind of in between, I guess, testing a little bit lower here. Right now, we're going to see how it works out. But, as I said, some of this is, the reason why I'm doing this is, as you see, everything's hopeful. So that means sit on hands. So if you want to just watch the markets, maybe go, clean around the house, make some coffee, do something else, you're more than welcome to. Because what you don't want to do is kind of like how I would like to say it is wedge yourself into a trade. If you got no business trading, I'm sorry. You have no business trading setups that are not according to your plan. That's what I was trying to say. If you're trying to trade setups that are not according to your plan, you're going to make mistakes, and then you're going to beat yourself up over the fact that you made those mistakes. So why do that when you can just skip it? Right? Wouldn't that be easier if you just skip doing that and you just kind of enjoyed what was going on? You can watch it, you can trade it, you can don't trade it, trade it. Same if you want to back test some stuff, if you want to keep yourself busy. But don't just take trades just because you're in front of the computer and you need to be your time is worth money, and you're comparing your time to money as opposed to um, utilizing what you should be utilizing, which is your your effort towards something as a long-term investment into yourself and into your trading. Right? Having screen time doesn't mean that you should be making money just because you're spending time in front of the screen. You need to spend a good enough amount of time in front of the screen to be able to eventually make money from trading. It's not going to come naturally. It's not a natural thing. This isn't like you're learning to ride a bicycle, right? It's very different. It's almost like you're trying to learn how to ride a bicycle on an uphill. It's just not going to be pretty, and you're going to be going back and back and back all the way to the bottom of the hill. The more you try to force it. So, yeah. Unfortunately, when there's not a lot of trading to do, there's just a lot of talking to do. Now, if you were a scalper and you were just loading up something like 500 share bars, 100 share bars or something like that, and you were just going in and out, that's fine too. There's ways to trade that too. It's just, I would say, for scalping, especially on any sort of market conditions, not when the market's choppy. Any sort of market conditions, if you're going to be scalping, you need to have the mental fortitude to be able to withstand, trades constantly going back and forth on you. So, yep, there's Enqueue flashing near hopeful. That means it's probably printing a little red. So there it is, printing red, printing red, printing red. And then the YM on the daily. Now, the reason why I don't look at the .Ds as much as these is because of the following. I can tell you this, typically speaking. If you go to what are the stats, show UFO stats, true. All right, you'll see that these UFOs over here are 40.56% accurate. Not exactly a great number, right? Now, if you go to true, see that these are 58% more accurate. So we're looking at 18% more. Now, if I was to load more data, right now I'm looking at 1 year back. If I was to load more data, I'll probably get a little bit more than that 58. And this one's looking 2 years back. Let's go 1 year back. Yeah, so as you see, so 46, a little bit better, right? A little bit better. Because it has 1 year of data loaded, so it's testing how likely is this to happen, right? For price to bounce between the UFOs. That's what that percentage is giving you. And as you see, this one is a lot more likely. Now, I'm not quite sure why. So when I typically trade, I trade on the 618 value here. Okay, not on the 0.5. Okay. I'm not sure why. It's my default is set to be that. Okay. That's gonna make some difference. See something, I caught an error on my end just because we were talking about it here. Always good. And I'm just gonna do true on the stats. True, just so we can see how we're looking. Right, as you see on the Enqueue, we have quite a bit more than the YM. That's almost always the case. The Enqueue does tend to like moving with the UFOs much better. How's the ES? Okay, so the ES is not looking so stellar. So I'm gonna load 1 year back. 51. That's not. Now again, this is on the dailies. And this one, I don't care too much about the stats here. As I said, I know they're going to be off because we don't have the full data loaded. False. Same here. Don't really care about the stats here too much. And this one, did we edit this? 6.8. And then this one is good. Just need to get the stats. There we go. Now we're talking. Okay, so now we see that 57, 56, 68% on the Enqueue. So if we were to be trading it just based on statistical probability, so the Enqueue is a much better option to trade it with right now, according to 1 year worth of data. Another way to kind of check these, and this is something that I've done a fair amount myself. Mandatory update is required. Okay, sorry. We're basically, there's not much to trade, folks. As you see, everything's hopeful, everything's moving in that direction. We have a trade that's open. Looks like it's pushing up again in our favor, which is great. So when we don't have things to trade, we find things to talk about. If you don't want to talk about anything, you can just, like as I said, you can walk around the house, clean around, help at home, maybe cook some breakfast, dinner, lunch, wherever the time is there. Always an option, right? Okay. All right. Well, that's nice. I was going to show you something with our platform, but right now it's looking like it won't happen. Okay. I'll have to get in touch with Jose. So, but anyways, unable to log in yet. We're going to go ahead and call it a day. I'm going to just see if I can make this happen. Trade station requires an update. Okay. All right. So that's that for today, folks. Thank you so much for joining me. As I said, it was a bit of a slow day. It's okay to have those every once in a while. Again, if you have any questions, any comments, anything you want to ask, please feel free to do so. My email is right there below, boyan@tradictive.com. That's my email. If you have any questions, please feel free to send them over. And that's that for today. We're going to be shutting down the session. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for watching this. If you're watching recorded, thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.